Hey guys, Furum here, and today I am presenting Part 2 of my Arrinera Hussarya multiplayer. The link to Part 1 is in the description and tuning is shown on screen. So the Vulcans do start up faster, however, I was able to knock one down because he bumped into something back there, and the other one wrecked, and the other one is taking the long way. So I know I've said it before in other videos, but learn Munich, and you will have a very, very good chance of winning on it in pretty much any car you're on, because the Vulcans do start up faster at this rank. They're faster as well, but if you get a track like Munich that they may not know as well as you, it can really do a lot for you, as you can see here. And speaking of Vulcans, I upgraded my Vulcan to a rank of 1679. My tuning is now 55045055. I gotta say, it is probably the best Aston Martin tune I have ever seen. It has maxed acceleration, so nothing but F1 cars will be passing you at the start. Its speed is extremely good for its rank, and it's at a rank where you will never meet a max pro'd Vulcan. I've not even met any max pro'd MP425s or homages with it, so you can expect a video on that very soon. So in this race I managed to beat 3 triple boosted Vulcans. That one that was behind me for a long time was just slightly faster than me, as are most Vulcans around this rank. But if the Vulcan drivers make mistakes, you got them. Now all of these races in this video I was running tickets on in Champion. That's how good this car really is. While it isn't as good as the Vulcan, I still felt confident enough to play ticket races in it when I'm in Champion League, which I do not feel good about doing in pretty much any other car in the game. I remember I also did this a while back, ticket races in Champion with my 959 when I made my video about that, which by the way, I will be making another video about very soon. So that is one of the other cars in the game that I might feel comfortable playing in Champion League with as well. So I've found that the beauty of this rank in multiplayer, 1678, 1679, is that you will never face a max pro'd Vulcan, especially as long as you risk points. You go above 1680, and you certainly risk finding them. So that is one thing I will say. If you want a good multiplayer car for around this rank, tune it to just under 1680 or around 1680. If it goes slightly over, it's probably not that big of a deal. But if you do that, you'll probably not meet any max pro'd Vulcans, risk points, you'll get fairly good matchmaking. I mean, in this car, I never met any car much above 1700, nor have I in my 1679 Vulcan as well. I used to think the barrier was 1660, then I thought it was 1670, but now after seeing plenty of videos, recent videos, of people above 1680 getting paired with max pro'd Vulcans, and that was a weird stunt right there, I'm pretty confident that 1680 is the real barrier for meeting max pro'd Vulcans. So I've come in first on this race against a 1675 Hussarya GT, which is the one without my exhaust upgrade, 2 Camaro SS's, and another 1690 Hussarya GT as well. So now we have a race on Patagonia against an MP48, a Camaro, and let's see, another Hussarya GT. Pretty much, after this car came out, if you play in a car between ranks 1600 and 1700, you're almost guaranteed to see one in a race because so many people were able to win with them and it's such a good car. Now, I said in my previous video about this car that it was about 90% as good as the Vulcan, with all of its traits being just slightly worse than the Vulcans. This is even more so now that I've upgraded my Vulcan to 1679. So my 1679 Vulcan versus my 1678 Hussarya GT, I can really see this comparison between them. My Vulcan is faster by about 3 miles per hour. My Vulcan starts up just slightly faster than this. My Vulcan has slightly better drifting radius as well, and the Vulcan has slightly better nitro efficiency, I believe. Either that or that one's about equal. One reason I actually decided to max acceleration on my Vulcan was because I noticed that some Hussaryas, especially 1690 to 1695 ones, were starting up as fast as me, and I didn't want that. See, I want my Vulcan to be able to get away easily from the Hussarya GTs at the beginning and not worry about them again for the rest of the race. And that's what my new tune has done. So in this race, we've beaten a 1681 Hussarya GT and a 1603 Camaro as well. I've upgraded my Camaro to a rank of 1670, so at some point I'll be making a video on that as well. I don't know when all these videos are going to come out. I'm just planning to do them somewhat soon, hopefully. So we have another race on Munich, this time against 2 Vulcans and a Sin R1. which is approximately equal to this car at this rank. The Sin R1 is almost exactly like this car in most aspects, and it is another one of those cars that is basically 90% as good as the Vulcan. But the Sin R1 is such a rare car because it was never given out in a special event. Blueprints were given out for the Sin R1 in two cups, a multiplayer one and a normal one. And the thing is, because you had to be in the top 25 or whatever to get all of them, a lot of people managed to get maybe around half of the blueprints needed. And the Vulcan just wrecked going around that corner. So unless people did really well in both of the cups for the Sin R1, most of them had to wait quite a while for the rest of the legendary blueprints to show up in boxes. And every so often on the Asphalt community, someone posts about finally getting enough for the Sin R1, and you see a few more of them in multiplayer. But they're still not nearly as prevalent as this car or the Vulcan or anything, because it's just a very hard car to obtain. So this Vulcan who wrecked back there was now slightly catching up with me, and I thought I could go to the left of this train, but I couldn't. There was just not enough room. And so I wrecked and therefore was behind this Vulcan. But guys, never give up if something like this happens to you. Anything could happen in the rest of the race. For example, on this race, this Vulcan ahead of me up here went around this corner and wrecked on it just the same as he did before. I'm really not sure what he's doing. If he's hitting the inside because he's drift punching too sharply, I'm not sure, but he did the same place twice. And yeah, that allowed me to win against him. And the Hussarya, as you can see, takes that turn very well. So again, on the Munich track, we have managed to beat a couple Vulcans. There was a 1699 triple boosted one, a 1694 triple boosted one, and a triple boosted 1589 Sin R1. You can see why I'm running triple boosted as well in all of these races. Oh, and here's another Sin R1. That's extremely rare to see two of them back to back. So this Egger Z guy in his Vulcan starts up faster than me, as the Vulcans do. He's one of the Vulcans that beat us last race as well. But I was able to take a lot of turns better than him in this race, and that allowed me to creep just ever so slightly ahead of him at the beginning. So again, if you have this car, feel confident that you can beat Vulcans as long as you drive better than them. However, the Vulcan drivers are usually very skilled, so you'll have to work really hard at that. But I believe it can be done, as long as you practice with this car and know how to drive it really well. The car right behind me is that Vulcan, but the one right behind him is the Sin R1. These are the three cars that do the best at this rank, Homage being next in line. Even though the Homage has better top speed around this rank than all three of these cars, these cars are so much better balanced than the Homage that oftentimes you'll be able to beat them, unless you get a long track like Azure Coast or Tokyo. Now don't get me wrong, there are a lot of really good Homage drivers out there that will manage to beat some of these cars on a lot more tracks than the ones I just mentioned. But more often than not, these cars will likely beat it. So we have finished ahead of that Vulcan, which was 1694 ranked, and the Sin R1, which was 1609. And a 1628 Hussarya GT. You'll need to upgrade your Hussarya to at least 1650 if you want it to be very prevalent in multiplayer at all. Speaking of a Homage, there's one in this race, and we'll see how it does against that. The car right behind me is yet another Sin R1, which starts up nearly the same speed as I do. And the Homage, because its acceleration is worse than the Hussarya and the Sin R1, is further back, but is catching up because of its slightly superior speed. However, the slight speed advantage that the Homage has is usually negated by its other bad aspects of bad drifting and bad nitro efficiency, which are the main ones. So that is why, most likely, they will not be able to catch up. It seems to me that around this rank, the well-balanced cars, with still decent top speed, like this and the Sin and the Vulcan, can do better than those heavily biased toward speed, like the Homage or Camaro, or heavily biased toward acceleration, like the MP425. So after I land here, I see the Sin R1 wreck. I'm not exactly sure what happened to him. I can only imagine he half barrel rolled off that flat spin ramp back there and landed on his top and wrecked because of that. So that Sin R1 and the Homage were not able to catch up to me in the rest of the race. Homage was a 1590, and the Sin R1 was a 1656. This was fairly good matchmaking and what will happen quite often if you risk points. Now this is a race against a Camaro and a couple Hussarya GTs. So this other one that passed me right here is a 1691, as you'll see at the end of the race. So the 1690 tune is very popular because it has decent acceleration, faster acceleration than this car because of the more exhaust put on it. However, the Hussarya GT at 1690 has a chance to meet Max Pro Vulcans. And in my opinion, staying at a lower rank below 1680 is a lot better because there is a much greater chance that you'll be able to beat 1690 Hussarya's, as I did earlier in the video, than you'll be able to beat Max Pro Vulcans that you may face 25% of the time in a 1690 Hussarya, or probably even more in a higher one like 1695 or 1712, which is the rank of a 0505 5555 Hussarya GT. I think I would like this car just ever so slightly better if it had a purple paint option, but unfortunately it does not. So, even though this other Hussarya GT took the longer route in the tunnel on both the first and the second laps, I was able to catch up to him a little because of that. But because his speed is just ever so slightly greater, he's able to pull away again. So, this is one of the things that you do have to worry about in a Hussarya of this tune. But as I said before, it's a lot better than facing a Max Pro Vulcan. So I believe I will keep my Arrinera Hussarya GT at this rank for quite a while. So we never managed to catch up to the 1690 Hussarya GT, and he managed to beat us. However, there are quite a few things that we beat as well. Even though that 1691 beat us, we beat a triple boosted 1704 Camaro, a triple boosted 1695 Hussarya GT, and a double boosted 1667 AHGT, as a lot of people like to call it for short. So now for our final race, which is on Dubai against a crowd of other Hussarya GTs. There are some slightly higher ranked ones in this race with slightly better acceleration, but as you can see, it does not make that much of a difference because they were not able to catch up to me. Now, it can take this turn pretty well, but apparently not a lot of people know how to take it in this car, because the three other cars in this race are Hussarya GTs. One of them wrecked trying to take it, and the other two didn't even bother. Going this way is faster even without the shortcut. A lot of you probably know this already, but there's probably quite a few of you that didn't as well. While it's not by much, it can certainly make a difference in a close race like this between other cars of the same type around the same rank, and as you can see, because I took it, I'm now farther ahead of them. So I said it in my previous video, and I'll say it again. This car is very worth it when tuned to around this rank, because it is one of the best Vulcan competitors and one of the only ones that was fairly easily accessible to most people. So one of the AHGTs was 1667, one 1690, and one 1675. Thank you all for watching. Please like the video if you enjoyed it and found it to be helpful, and consider subscribing to see all my Asphalt 8 videos right as they come out. And I will see you in my next video. Goodbye!